Good morning to our friends from the international media and Philippine media delegation. We are delighted to have the presence of Secretary Carlos Domiguez of the Department of Finance to talk about the results of the ASEAN meetings. And good morning, sir. Now I will turn it over to you for your opening or short message.
Essentially, when you look at these ASEAN meetings, there are generally two aspects of it. First, the aspect of the meetings among the ASEAN leaders. And in those meetings, the shared goals of the ASEAN countries are always discussed, and means to achieve those goals are planned out. And what are those shared goals? Number one is reduction of poverty, is the first goal. Secondly, how do you achieve poverty reduction? And that is through increased connectivity and increased integration of our economies. And the third goal, of course, is to provide a venue for discussing differences among the ASEAN leaders. The second aspect of these ASEAN meetings is the meetings with, like this morning we had a meeting with the ASEAN Plus 3, which are Korea, Japan, and China. And we also have separate meetings with each of those countries, as well as the United Nations representative. The Secretary General. So, in this year, the discussions with the world at large, represented by these countries, as well as the United States, which will be this afternoon, I think the main goal is to remove uncertainties that are plaguing the international community and are a drag on the growth rate of the world economy.
Any new commitments from China regarding the Philippines Infra Program, since reduction of poverty is also part of the ASEAN Summit topics?
Well, with regards to our discussions with China, Philippines discussions with China, they were not taken in specifically here because we just had meetings. The President had a meeting with Vice Premier Hu Chunhua, as well as the economic ministers in the Philippines met with the Vice Premier as well. On the items here, I think the biggest item that the ASEAN discussed with China is the proposal to remove one big uncertainty, and that is the uncertainty in the South China Sea, and the idea was essentially to push for the completion or the finalization of the Code of Conduct.
Hi, my name is Tanaporn from AFP. I would like to ask why President Duterte and other ASEAN leaders do not attend the ASEAN-US summit.
I'm not really involved in that, but my guess is that the leaders will attend the meetings when their counterparts are here.
One of the bigger issues that ASEAN is tackling is about the South China Sea. And currently, there are differing views on how we should tackle it. One side, particularly Vietnam, would like to mention specific incidents and have it included in the joint leaders' statement. Of course, the other side would rather have a more general statement. How about the Philippines? What what's the Philippine position on this? Is it more beneficial for everyone to mention specific incidents, or we just, be more general?
I think the goal is to remove uncertainties in the South China Sea. And really, to remove the uncertainties, it is very important to have the code of conduct agreed upon by all parties. We have to realize that the South China Sea is a very important sea lane, not only for Southeast Asia, Japan, Korea, but even more important for China. A lot of maybe 80% of their trade passes through there. So the removal of uncertainty is definitely the major goal. Now, how that is to be achieved, whether we will go into great detail mentioning specific incidents or not, is really subject to discussion among all the parties.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, has the absence of U.S. President Trump affected at all the reliability of the U.S. as an ASEAN partner?
The absence of President Trump basically he's missed. I don't think it affects the view of the ASEAN about the reliability of the U.S. For reliability, we had better look into their actions rather than into their presence.
Okay.
But do you think President Trump should put more importance to the ASEAN and attend future regional summits?
That would be nice, but I suppose he has other issues that he has to address, and most of them are domestic at the moment. I think he has a slight problem with the legislature there, so let's allow him to make his choice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jen. Next.
So Philippines said spending rose 39 year-on-year, which is the fastest pace in more than a year. Given that improvement, are you excited a rebound in the third quarter GDP growth? And what is your estimate for the third quarter? Thank you.
Well, as I said, may I quote my countryman from another news agency? He said the predictions are that the growth in the third quarter will exceed those of either of the first or the second quarter, and I believe that's most likely because the figures that we have announced on spending actually show that we have already ramped up our spending and have basically almost caught up with our plan. People are wondering why government spending, which is only 20% of the GDP, is so important. It is because it has it stimulates the economy, it creates jobs, it provides infrastructure and connectivity for people, and that's why our spending program is very, very critical.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I just wish to ask for your fearless forecast for the GDP in the country. For the fourth quarter, do you think we will hit the target for full year 2019?
Fourth quarter?
Fourth quarter, and then if we will hit the full year target.
Well, we will certainly, we are certainly in a very good position to hit the lower end of the target of 6 to 7% this year. Lower end, unfortunately, because we had a 5-month delay in the approval of the budget, and also we had the problem of the law that does not allow us during election period to start new infrastructure projects. That resulted in an underspending of close to 1 billion pesos a day in the Philippines. And definitely the investment in our infrastructure suffered because of that. Again, I'm very happy, though, that this Congress now, headed by Alan Peter Cayetano, has approved the budget very early, and that I'm pretty sure that the Senate will concur and give their approval as well within this year.
Hi, sir. Sir, can you inform us what happened during the ASEAN Plus 3 summit? What was the center of discussion, sir?
Again, the center of discussion in the ASEAN Plus 3 was the commitment on both sides to enhance the cooperation between ASEAN and the group represented by China, Korea, and Japan. As I said, the goals are very similar: reduction of poverty, improving standards of living in ASEAN, and moving ahead with our very large trading partners. I think those three countries probably are the largest trading partners of the ASEAN as a whole. So it's very good that we continue to cooperate and to affirm that our direction is correct, although sometimes you need some minor corrections.